Have you ever wondered why we still haven't discovered all the tombs and treasures of legendary kings? Is it because humanity hasn't yet discovered them, or because the constructions of the ancients are too complex? Or maybe they used another supreme weapon to hide and protect them? What I'm referring to here is the curse. Although it originally aimed to protect with noble intentions, sometimes it becomes a force that decides the fate of individuals, or even the survival of entire families. This is also what causes someone at the peak of power to fall into failure and obscurity, making them powerless, waiting for death to come. Perhaps this family feels the harshness of a terrible curse more than anyone else, passed down through many generations over centuries. Look at this picture. This is the Kennedy family of the late President John F. Kennedy. The sudden death of him, along with a series of other tragic events, has made many wonder about the curse this family must endure. If there truly is a curse, then who is behind these horrific tragedies? Let's find out the answer in today's video. Who cursed the Kennedy family? When we mention the name Kennedy, I bet most of us only know the most famous one, President John F. Kennedy. But that's only a small part of the story. This man, Patrick J. Kennedy, the respected patriarch who laid the foundation for the prosperity and development of the Kennedy family. After marrying Mary Augusta Hickey, the two primarily engaged in politics and joined the Democratic Party. However, it was the second generation of this prestigious family, Joseph P. Kennedy, the eldest son of the patriarch, who truly made the family flourish, leaving a deep mark on the political landscape of both the United States and the world. Joseph once served as the U.S. ambassador to the UK when World War II broke out. However, this was not the pinnacle of power he could have reached. Joseph's life took a new turn when he married Rose Fitzgerald, the daughter of the mayor of Boston. This marriage produced the most remarkable individuals, with the highest political power in America. From here, the Kennedy family officially entered a new era, an era of immeasurable power. The descendants of Joseph include John F. Kennedy, who later became the 35th President of the United States, and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, a senator of the country. Other members of the Kennedy family also became members of the U.S. House of Representatives, or the Senate. In total, their family had 2 American ambassadors, 1 governor, 3 state legislators, and 1 mayor. Additionally, many other family members held high-ranking positions in the American government. This alone shows us the remarkable growth and concentration of power within the family. By the 4th generation of the Kennedy family, the number of members significantly increased. They also have many influential figures in politics and society, some being lawyers, others as city council members, and some as the wives of governors of California. To this day, the Kennedy family still holds significant influence and many important positions in the United States. For 64 years, each year at least 1 member of the Kennedy family held power in a federal office. Isn't this the clearest proof of the family's growth and power? In history, no family has produced 3 U.S. senators, 1 president, and 2 presidential candidates like the Kennedys. To this day, many people compare the Kennedy family to other powerful families like the Bushes or the Adamses. Though all 3 of these families have deep roots in New England and played significant roles in the development of America, the Kennedy family remains more famous and highly regarded. However, one thing that sets the Kennedy family apart is the series of tragic deaths they have endured. The most talked about death, the most well-known one, which you and I often discuss, is the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Yes, That is just one of the most horrific tragedies this family has faced. Members of the Kennedy family continued to die one after another for various reasons. Some due to accidents, others through assassinations. Some died from drug overdoses. The concerning thing here is that these sudden deaths remain unsolved mysteries. So, what exactly happened to them? On the afternoon of November 22, 1963, in Dallas, a convertible carrying the youngest president in U.S. history, along with his motorcade, was parading towards the Trade Mart. John F. Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy had just completed a 2-day fundraising tour across 5 cities in Texas. These efforts were meant to unite the divided Democratic Party and give Kennedy a better chance at re-election in 1964. 200,000 people lined up over 16 kilometers to catch a glimpse of the president. But amidst the support and excitement of the crowd, a gunshot rang out from the Texas School Book Depository building, causing chaos. Then came a second and a third shot. John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States, was assassinated. He lay motionless in the car, with blood staining everywhere. The United States was stunned into silence at that moment. Why were they so afraid? How could they not be shocked when their newly inaugurated president was assassinated? But who was behind this horrific event? The main suspect in this shocking case was Lee Harvey Oswald, a former U.S. Marine. He fired a shot that pierced the president's neck, hitting Governor John Connally sitting in the front seat. The second shot struck Kennedy in the back of the head. The third shot missed. As history records, the president did not survive. Later, at 2:38 p.m. that same day, Johnson took the oath of office amid the confusion and shock of the public. This incident raised many questions. Was there a power struggle that led to John F. Kennedy's death? But it didn't stop there. 5 years later, this man, Robert Francis Kennedy, rose as a political star in America. He was expected to continue and develop his brother's unfinished career. But his fate was no different from that of his late brother in the same family. The tragic moment happened here, at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Robert Francis Kennedy had just delivered a speech to the public after winning the California primary vote. Many said this could be a turning point in his life. And indeed, it was a major change. But it was a change that no one could have foreseen. Senator Robert planned to celebrate at the hotel after moving through the kitchen area, a route believed to be safer. But before this safer route could even show its worth, this horrifying reality happened. Several gunshots shattered the atmosphere and caused the crowd to panic. The Kennedy politician immediately collapsed in a pool of blood. Just like his late brother, Robert passed away, leaving the nation in sorrow. According to the autopsy results, the senator was shot 3 times in the head, chest, and neck. It's worth noting that the head wound was caused by a bullet fired so close, as if someone had pressed the gun against his head. How could this happen? What did the bodyguards do at that time? Could the assassin have been right next to Robert? Who exactly was responsible for this? After multiple investigations, the main suspect was quickly apprehended. Sirhan Sirhan, 22, a Palestinian immigrant. Like Oswald, the suspect in the assassination of John F. Kennedy, he was considered the sole suspect in the case. According to some leaked information, at the time of Robert's assassination, 10 shots were fired. However, the weapon Sirhan used, as reported by the police, could only hold a maximum of 8 bullets. This discrepancy sparked public speculation, leading to many theories about the true cause of the senator's death. The main motive for the suspect was his belief that Robert Kennedy was involved in the brutal suppression of Palestinians. Somehow, during the act, he was only about 1 meter away from the senator. And so, the Kennedy family continued to experience many mysterious deaths. At first, not many paid attention to this, because the history of the United States had recorded a few cases of political assassinations. But the fact that two brothers from the same family, on the rise to the peak of ambition, were unexpectedly murdered seems rather strange, don't you think? Could it be that this unfortunate family is cursed by some kind of authoritarian curse? People began to investigate this family and were horrified to uncover a chilling truth. Looking back in time, even if you are not superstitious, you will be bewildered by the bloody tragedies of the Kennedy family. It all started with the assassination of this man, Joseph P. Kennedy Jr., the elder brother of the late President John F. Kennedy. He died on August 12, 1944, when the plane he was piloting exploded. He was on a secret bombing mission in Normandy, France. At that time, Joseph was only 29 years old and had no family. 4 years later, on August 13, 1948, his sister Kathleen Kennedy also died in a plane crash in France. Despite the many consecutive deaths, including the deaths of the president and senator, the family's misfortune did not stop there. In 1956, before being assassinated, President Kennedy and his wife lost their daughter, Arabella, while she was still in the womb. 7 years later, their fourth child, Patrick, also passed away on July 9, 1963, just 2 days after being born. Death once again visited the family of the late president on July 16, 1999, claiming the life of their only son, John F. Kennedy Jr., in a plane crash over the Atlantic Ocean. Even in this tragic incident, Kennedy Jr.'s wife Carolyn and his sister-in-law Lauren Bissett also perished. It wasn't just assassinations or plane crashes. Other members of the Kennedy family also passed away at a very young age. The causes of these deaths are quite complex, even somewhat mysterious and hard to understand. Some died from drug overdoses. Some died in accidents, and some simply went missing. From the early days of the family until today, the Kennedys seem to have never had peace. Few in the family lived healthy lives until the end. Some believe in the curse that haunts them, while others claim it's just a conspiracy to undermine the Kennedy family's power. What is the truth behind these tragic deaths? In fact, the catastrophic deaths of the Kennedy family were not sudden events. They were foretold long before. It's just that no one cared, not even the family members. But why did this happen? Who knew about these tragedies in advance? And who could have done that? This woman is the one who made the prophecies about the deaths in the Kennedy family. Jean Dixon. She was one of the most famous psychics and astrologers in the USA in the 20th century. Jean also demonstrated her talent by making many accurate prophecies about world political events. The most famous was her prediction that Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister in 1945, would not be re-elected. Additionally, Jean was the author of many best-selling prophetic books. Among them was Kennedy Confidential, the complete unbiased story. About 11 years before President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. At St. Matthew's Church in Washington, Jean Dixon bought several candles and knelt to pray before a statue of the Virgin Mary, as usual. It was still a completely normal day, until Dixon suddenly felt a strange sensation. A feeling of unease, as if it were the prelude to something unusual that would follow. At that moment, flickering flames appeared before her eyes, and beams of light quickly formed the number 1960. Then a dark cloud took the shape of the White House and gradually appeared. Inside, a young man, tall with blue eyes and curly hair, stood before the door. A voice rang in her ear. "This man is from the Democratic Party. He will be elected president in 1960, but will be assassinated during his term." Although the entire image faded and drifted away, Jean could not forget it. In fact, the things she saw did come true. In early November 1963, Jean had a special meeting with Kay Hell, the best friend of President Kennedy. Jean, stunned and hurried, advised Kay to tell the president to cancel his trip to Dallas. Contrary to the prophet's panic and fear, Kay responded dismissively and didn't pay much attention to the prophecy. But what Kay thought was nonsense turned out to be true. While talking with friends in a Washington restaurant, she received a phone call with the short message, "The president has been shot." At that moment, Kay finally believed that what Jean had said was accurate. Not only was the death of President Kennedy foretold, but Jean also predicted that the tragedy for this family would not end there. So, what other horrifying events did she foresee? On the afternoon of June 19, 1964, Jean stated that the young senator should stay away from jet planes, or else something serious would happen. Indeed, it happened. The very next morning, news broke that Senator Edward Kennedy had been severely injured, with his spine fractured in a plane crash. Additionally, his close assistant and pilot died. Jean's prophetic ability also helped her foresee the tragic assassination of Robert Kennedy. To prevent the painful history from repeating itself, she tried multiple times to contact Robert, hoping he would pay attention and avoid the tragedy. Jean contacted the author of Pacific War Diary. Yes, it was this man. James J. Fahey helped Jean send a signed copy of the book to Senator Robert, inside which was Jean's warning to prevent another Kennedy tragedy. Robert had heard a lot about her prophetic abilities, but he chose to ignore her warnings. In January 1968, less than 5 months before Robert's assassination, a meeting was held at a beach in Miami, Florida. Jean attended the meeting and received many questions about various issues. One shareholder asked her, "Will Robert Kennedy become President of the United States?" The prophet boldly answered no and confirmed that he would be assassinated in June. Her words attracted over 5,000 listeners, shocking everyone who heard them. They couldn't believe how she could claim it when Robert hadn't even entered the election yet. Moreover, saying someone would die isn't it an extremely condemnable act? 2 months before the senator was assassinated, at a breakfast in Fort Worth, Texas, Jean told Mia Whitehead, a member of the welcoming committee and wife of Texas Senator John Thor, "When Robert is in California, he will be shot." Many important figures tried to convince Robert. So, was there any successful effort? The answer is no, nothing changed. As the date of Robert's assassination approached, Jean felt the presence of death and darkness closing in around her. Terrifying shadows approached her from all sides, making her feel terrified, as if something had harmed her. Jean hesitated and spoke each word haltingly. "Robert Kennedy, that's where he will be shot. I see him fall on the floor. It's blood." And then no miracle occurred. All the prophet's attempts to prevent it were ineffective. As fate had it, Robert also passed away in the most horrific way, just like his brother. Many people find it truly hard to understand how Jean could predict the 2 most tragic deaths in this family, despite all her attempts to prevent them. Why did the Kennedy family ignore her prophecies? Could it be that this family doesn't believe in the supernatural? Or did they know but chose to ignore it? Or perhaps the Kennedy family members believed they were cursed and could never escape the hand of death? These questions have remained unanswered for a long time, and even to this day, no one has provided a definitive explanation. Looking back at the history of this family, you will see the commonality of these horrific deaths. The victims were all very young, on the verge of reaching the pinnacle of fame. This man, Edward Klein, the author of The Kennedy Curse, Why Tragedy Has Haunted America's First Family for 150 Years, recognized this. He concluded that whenever a member of the Kennedy family was close to achieving their goals and ambitions, they always had to pay a very high price. And indeed, history has proven this. However, some believe that the Kennedy family's curse originates from the mouth of a mysterious Indian prophet. The whole family was cursed by divine forces, which is why they faced so much misfortune and tragic deaths. Although these misfortunes happened to anyone in the family, many still consider it the fulfillment of a curse. Could it be that a member of the Kennedy family wronged the Indians in the past? This mystery still remains without any conclusive answers. Additionally, many people still believe that this is the price Joseph Kennedy, the eldest son of the patriarch, had to pay when he ruined the life of his daughter. Wait, why is Joseph Kennedy's daughter mentioned here? What really happened? First, you need to know a bit about this unfortunate daughter. Since childhood, she had intellectual disabilities, so she struggled with reading and writing. This led to her being sent to Pennsylvania boarding school, a school for children with disabilities. In her early adulthood, Rosemary continued to battle seizures and severe emotional instability. To address this issue, Joseph arranged for a lobotomy surgery when Rosemary was 23 years old in 1943. This left her permanently unable to use language normally, and it also served to limit her influence on her brother's future success. Joseph viewed having a daughter with a disability as an obstacle to the family's rise. But was this unfair sacrifice worth it? At that time, the Kennedy family worked hard to get Joseph Jr. into politics and the USA government. The respected patriarch even declared to the press that this child would be the future president of the United States. However, those words never had a chance to come true. Joseph Jr. died at 29 in a plane crash. This event took away the brightest heir of the Kennedy family. And from here, the family's long cycle of paying the price began. From these unending ambitions, it's clear that Joseph himself created the deadly curse for his family. As a member of the Kennedy family, don't expect to die peacefully in your bed. In the book, The House of Kennedy, author James Patterson also believes that the father of the late 35th president was the one who started it all. He unknowingly created tremendous pressure for every member of his family. Joseph and his wife, Rose, demanded that every member strive to be their best, to be the best version of themselves, always working towards bigger, greater, and more significant things. And surely, it was hard for the following generations to meet this expectation. Perhaps the real curse of this family is that everyone had to strive for greatness, even if it put them in danger. And Rosemary's surgery is the clearest proof that this family was willing to sacrifice a member to bring glory to the collective. The relentless striving of the Kennedys reminds me of the saying, "To get something valuable, you must sacrifice something valuable." But are they truly happy with these sacrifices? From another perspective, we can say that this family is suffering the consequences of their actions in a completely fair way. When discussing this issue, two theories have been presented and received much agreement. The first theory is that between 1937 and 1940, Joseph Kennedy, who was then the American ambassador to the UK, refused to grant visas to 500 Jewish people who would later be sent to Nazi concentration camps. Because of this, those people allegedly cursed the family. Still related to the Jewish people, but another theory has emerged. Many people believe that in 1937, on the way back to the USA, Joseph sat next to a Jewish priest on a ship. The man had just escaped the deadly grasp of the Nazis and was seeking a way to the USA. However, Joseph complained to the captain and asked him to prevent the priest from praying on the ship. Perhaps it was this thoughtless action that caused the priest to curse every member of the Kennedy family. All of them had to suffer a tragic fate. While many believe that a terrible curse exists in the Kennedy family, there are still opposing views from those who don't believe in the supernatural. These deaths did not originate from any curse. The New York Times cited a psychologist's words to oppose the conspiracy theories and the curse behind the series of deaths in the Kennedy family. Many other families, large and small, around the world have experienced multiple consecutive deaths. Some families have even faced more tragedies than the Kennedys. However, the Kennedy name has become so famous, with such an important role in the American political system, that it receives more attention. So, many different theories have been presented, with both supporters and opponents. And have the people involved ever spoken out about the rumors and speculations surrounding their family's misfortune? Right after the deaths of President Kennedy and Senator Kennedy, this man spoke up. Edward Moore Kennedy, also known as Ted, the younger brother of the late president and senator. It can be said that death overlooked him when the Chappaquiddick incident arose. In July 1969, Ted accidentally drove off a brush on Chappaquiddick Island, Massachusetts. It seemed like death was about to take him, but no, he managed to escape without any life-threatening injuries. He left the scene but didn't report the incident until 10 hours later. This led to the woman who accompanied him, Mary Jo Kopech, being trapped and losing her life. Ted later admitted guilt for leaving the scene, abandoning the injured person, leading to her death. If there truly is a curse here, Ted should have died. Could it be that death made a mistake? On the very night the incident occurred, he was troubled by many thoughts. Could there be another curse hanging over all those bearing the Kennedy name? Returning to the accident, it became a topic discussed everywhere with many differing opinions, even to this day. Could this media crisis have been the reason Ted abandoned his ambition to run for president in the 1972 and 1976 elections? Or did Ted fear that death would visit him again as he ventured deeper into the political world? Surely, each of us has our own thoughts and arguments about this issue. But fortunately, no tragic incidents occurred to Ted. Throughout the rest of his life, he became one of the rare survivors, living until 77 and passing peacefully in the nation's memory. Additionally, several other members of the Kennedy family also directly spoke out, denying the existence of a terrible curse. Among them were two sons of the late USA Senator Ted Kennedy, Edward Jr. and his older brother, Patrick Kennedy. It can be confirmed that Edward Jr. is also a living witness to being overlooked by death. In 1973, at the age of 12, he lost a leg due to the cruel bone cancer. However, he was lucky to survive and became someone who could live a full life. He himself shared optimistically about the rumors surrounding his family. The Kennedy family accepted these things very openly. But our family is just like any other family in America. It didn't stop there. In 2009, Patrick also made an important statement. He said that his father, Ted, spoke about the curse because his spiritual significance had exceeded his ability to face difficult problems when in danger. As of now, the Kennedy family no longer holds as many important positions in the U.S. Congress. Could it be that they recognized the fear of the curse and no longer dared to set such big ambitions? Or have the family members become too exhausted from fulfilling the wishes of previous generations? No matter which perspective we consider, we can all see the death and sorrow that is terrifying. Whether or not there is a curse hanging over the Kennedy family really isn't that important. The tragic deaths we've mentioned will still be a topic for discussion for a long time to come. Personally, I believe that standing at the peak of power surely comes with many risks. The risk of being opposed by others, or even the risk of self-destruction. What do you think about what happened to this family? Was it a worthwhile sacrifice? I believe you all have your own answers. And now, the video ends here. Goodbye, and I wish you a great day.